It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Texas for round 8 of 9 for 2025 from Motovation Supersport here at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Race 1 on deck. We can't wait to get this race action going for you because the sun is shining. It is hot out there, and we expect race action to be just as warm. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. So, Jason, here we are, kind of a situation we were in last year. We come down to these two riders, the hot hands right now. We have other riders that could mix it up for sure, but it's about Schultz and it's about PJ Jacobsen.
Yeah, lap records are getting broken, Greg, even in this heat, like you mentioned. And I think for Matthew and PJ right now, they know that they've got a host of other people that can run the pace. Number one is going to be Cam Peterson, but it's his VIR, Greg. At VIR, it was the Matthew Schultz show on that track racing Yamaha R9. With that number 1 plate, he went ahead and won both races there. When we moved on to Mid-Ohio, we saw PJ Jacobsen going to the fight. This is again at VIR, Greg, race 2. Matthew was really unstoppable that weekend and really made it look pretty simple. Blake Davis, another race winner from earlier in this year. You saw in that shot. He'll be another guy with a shot at today's race as well. Matthew here going up underneath Cam Peterson down into turn 6 at Mid-Ohio. Then it was going to be PJ Jacobsen leading the way. PJ would go on in this race and battle along with Cam Peterson and Matthew Schultz. And you're going to see here, Matthew wins race number 1 there. He's won 3 out of the last 4. PJ Jacobsen was the other one who won the other race, Greg.
And 91 available 100 points in those last 4 races, and here we are in the standings. It's 283 to 276 off of the back of those 7 wins and 12 podiums for Matthew Schultz. So the championship is definitely as hot as you like it, and so is the racetrack. And the third member of our broadcast team, Jamie Howe, is on the grid right now.
And that racetrack temperature right now, Greg, over at 120 degrees. So certainly things are heating up down here, but a few stories not involving that championship title fight. We're going to start back on the 3rd row. Qualifying 8th is Jake Lewis, who before a very scary incident back at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, you're in the top 5 in points. Jake, you won here at this racetrack last year. You know how physically demanding it is, but coming back onto this bike after missing 5 races, what is the real goal when you get to the checkered flag today?
First of all, I'm just glad to be back healthy and back to my 100%. I've missed the last 5 or 6 Supersport races, so it's good to be back in the mix. Qualifying 8th, there's a big group of us that are super close, and to be realistic, my goal is to try to fight for the top 5 today, but I just know how much this track changes, from the morning session at 9 a.m. till now at 2 p.m. It's hot and greasy, and some flat track skills pay off, and it's a long, hot race, and you got to dig deep and stay focused. That's the biggest thing. Try to not make any mistakes. This track is really easy to make mistakes into those hairpins, and offers up some good battles, and there's a lot at stake for the boys up front, so I just hope to stay strong and keep going.
A lot on the line, and that challenge is certainly going to be a tall one. He mentioned that group of riders that are right there close together. We're going to move up 1 row in front of Jake. After qualifying 5th is Kayla Yakov. And news broke earlier this week, if you're just now joining in to MotoAmerica action, Kayla Yakov is going to be leading this Rahal Ducati Supersport program next year. Young rider Alessandro Di Mario coming on board. So Kayla, you go into the race today, not only with the full support you've had all season from the team, but now knowing that they have the confidence in you to take that next step in your career. What does that do to you from a mental standpoint getting ready to race?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm super excited to be with the team again this year. Obviously, they're one of the best out here. So, going up to next year, being, I guess, the lead rider of the crew, and then riding with Alessandro, who we all know is going to be very fast, will be good. It's exciting. Right now, both of the Rahal bikes are up front, so I'm worried about today. I'm worried about my race and trying to go out and do my thing and hopefully get a good result to end off the year.
The horns are blowing, we're getting closer to racing, and I said, Greg, that temperature is certainly rising.
Yeah, and also when you know what you're doing next year, JP, there's a lot of kind of comfort in that when you have your situation all sorted out for next season, and now you can just focus on what's ahead. And what's ahead for these Supersport riders, Circuit of the Americas, 3.4 miles in length. Jason, it throws a lot at you.
It really does, Greg. Right off the bat, too, you go up a really big, steep hill into a very tight turn 1. Want to see our field make it through there. Not a lot of options through the S's, Greg, but man, they are so fun, fast, and flowing all the way to turn 11. Hard braking, and then you got this big back straightaway. When you get to the end of there, Greg, tight turn 12 could get interesting after you've been in a 3 or 4 rider draft. You make your way all the way through turn 17, 18, through 19, and then 20. We've already seen a race decided 1 there today, so turn 20 can be tricky as well, Greg.
This track loves a good accelerating motorcycle. Well, your number 1 plate has 7 points between him and championship rival. Race start in a few minutes. Can he get another one under his belt?
Motovation Supersport is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By NXT Bets, play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sports books and DFS platforms all season long. And by Motovation, the most trusted online resource for premium motorcycle parts and accessories delivered right to your door. Find your motivation at motivationusa.com.
"11 laps of Supersport action about to come up, Raj, and we heard from down the grid there from Jake Lewis about the importance of the changes in the conditions from this morning into the afternoon. We heard from Jamie, 120 degrees track temperature. It's going to be greasy. It's going to be tricky out there. For the riders, we know it's going to be difficult as well. This is going to come down to conditioning and just controlling it through the course of this race.
Yeah, and this track is so physical, especially the first part, going back and forth, going so fast. It's just a lot of work, the body, the mind. That's what happens when you start to get tired. You start to lose a little bit of focus, and that's big mistakes can happen.
At the front of the field, Matthew Scholes, Cam Peterson and Blake Davis on the front row of the grid. PJ Jacobson from the second row, he's under pressure now. Obviously, comes into this race 7 points adrift of Matthew Scholes. He can't afford to leave this weekend with that margin growing by too much going into that last round of the year.
Yeah, and for PJ, just get a good start. But he's one of those guys. He's able to step up when he needs to. He knows the pressure's on. He knows what he has to do. He's got a great team around him, so he's going to be able to do that. But Matt has had an incredible pace so far this weekend. We talked about it this morning in that second qualifier, just able to go out and throw a couple track record laps at it in a row.
Yeah, the 2:11.7 that set the pole time was impressive on its own right, but there was an 11.8, an 11.9, a 12.0. Matthew Scholes very much the rider to beat over the course of this 11 laps of action as we get ready for the warm-up lap to start here at COTA. Is there anyone else that can get themselves into the fight? Blake Davis, obviously from the outside of the front row of the grid, has been able to win races this year.
I think Cam Peterson, he's been fast all weekend. He's only been qualified at 10th off. Matt, he hasn't had as consistent, I would say, but he definitely has the opportunity. He's got to get a good start and not let Matt check out early.
4 podiums in the last 5 races for Cam Peterson on the number 45 machine. We're going to go back to Greg White, Jason Pridmore and Jamie Howe.
Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas here in Austin, Texas. As Supersport. Don't forget, check out nxtbets.com/playma in your area. Scan that QR code. There's exclusive offers you can check out. Superbike, Supersport, and Mission King of the Baggers. Check out nxtbets.com/playma for more information. All right, so as we get close to this race, Jason, this reminds me of last year between PJ Jacobson and Matthew Scholes, and this was a pivotal race that we had going on here last year. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it really was, Greg. And when you look 2 corners from the end here, this is a mistake. You see PJ just lose the front. Essentially, this would ultimately cost the championship when you look back at it. And for PJ, we don't see him do this very often at all. He does not make mistakes. Matthew would go on to win this race, and it really set him up well for our finale in New Jersey, a lot like we're going to be there and again, Greg, in a couple of weeks' time. So for PJ, it's about keeping this thing on the rails today. Go after that number 1 plate the best he can.
Let's take a look at our starting grid, how they qualified in Q2. It was nice and cool this morning, so pretty much everybody on this grid set their time this morning. New lap record here at Circuit of the Americas for Matthew Scholes, 2:11.765.
Cam also broke that previous lap record, Greg, and Blake Davis was able to sneak through and get third. PJ, Kayla, and Brandon Posh. Really, really good job from Brandon Posh with the new team that he's on, the Doritos team. And Tyler Scott, Jake Lewis, Josh Hayes, they're 9th. Torrin Collins, Aiden Sneed, and Corey Alexander will fill out row number 4. Then we're going to go back to Teague Hobbs. Greg, Martin Cardenas, got to love seeing that. Linares, David Anthony, DeLeon, and Chase Black will be on the outside of row 6. Look at this field. We have De Silva, Max Van in 20th, Jarrett Nassani, Enriquez, Rigg, and Owen Williams. Then we've got Monk, Zaragoza, Mags, Erstein, Horny, and Vandal are going to be outside of the last row. Oh, sorry, Greg, got one more?
Yeah.
Hayden Dietrich and Joel Oman there in 32nd spot.
32 riders qualifying for this race here at Circuit of the Americas, and why not? This is one of the most famous circuits in the United States, around the world, and people love coming here to try to qualify to race against the best.
And I mean, Greg, first turn here, I mean, I feel like we say it a lot, but for different reasons, when you look at different first turns around the country, this one here, things can get bottlenecked up there. You've got to be cautiously aggressive, I guess you could say, at the top of this hill. You don't want to give up too many positions, but you also do not want the narrative to be that you ran your race up in turn one and you're fighting all the way through. Remember what happened here last year with Martin Cardenas and Matthew Schultz in race one.
Certainly. So here we go. Riders all lined up and ready to get after it under the sunshine of Texas. Grid is clear, and when these red lights go off, we're at it. Here we go, revs up. And away we go. Matthew Schultz with a good launch from pole position. As we head into turn number one, his teammate is Blake Davis on this track racing Yamaha R9s. And then Cameron Peterson will funnel into third spot as they head down the hill towards the S's.
Yeah, Greg, and you're going to see everybody makes it through there really nicely. You saw Matthew, the second he got that start, Greg, he moved over to the left to not give anybody any thoughts of getting out front. Right now, if Matthew could look in a rearview mirror, he'd see his teammate right behind him, and that's going to give him a really good feeling. Cam Peterson there in third. Then it looks like it's going to be P.J. Jacobson. Both the Rahal Ducatis got off the line together, but now they've been separated by a couple other riders just between them.
So Blake Davis, who qualified third, we really hadn't seen a lot of him in practice and qualifying so far this weekend. But keep in mind, this is still the first year of this R9. And Blake Davis, compared to Matthew Schultz in terms of, Jay, just, overall experience.
Yeah.
I mean, being able to give feedback to his team. They're working at it, but all they need is a good race setup. So down the back straightaway they go for the first time. We're going to see if anybody's got some draft and pass maneuvers
Blake's
in
close
mind.
enough to do a draft and pass on Matthew, so you can see he's going to pull out of that draft now. I don't know if he was edged close enough. It looks like he is, though, Greg. He's going to take a shot. Oh, he doesn't. He's not quite there. So Matthew cuts back across in front of Blake. Cam Peterson there. You saw Josh Hayes make an early bid as well. Looks like it's Ty Scott on the 70 on a completely different livery for that Vision Well N4 XR Suzuki team. More of an old school livery. 40th anniversary, I believe it is, Greg.
Yeah, 40th anniversary of the GSXR.
Looks great. The whole team looks really, really good. Uniformed up in those colors. So, got a couple of Ducatis, couple of Yamahas, and a Suzuki there in the top 5.
And keep in mind, it was Jake Lewis last year who won a race here at Circuit of the Americas on the GSXR. Oh, no.
Got a couple guys down.
So,
that's Max Van.
Yeah, the 48.
I believe it's the 48, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. So,
and, I'm going to guess, is this Torn? Nope, it's Jarrett Nassani.
All right, so Max Van on the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, the number 59 of Nassani on the Altus Motorsports machine. He is down. Back to race action up front. Come across the stripe. By the way, fastest bike down the back straightaway, Cameron Peterson in a draft, 170 miles an hour on these middleweight bikes. He converts that into a second place maneuver around Blake Davis, the 22. So good move by the 45 of Cam Peterson on the Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse HSBK
Look
Ducati.
at Blake, though. Blake just stuffed it right back underneath him. He was able to use a lot of exit speed out of that turn 2 to stuff his way back through on Cam Peterson. That's only going to give Matthew more room. Greg, the one I'm really confused on, we'll have to figure out after the race, is Brandon Posh. Started 6th, 13th on the first lap. So maybe he got shoved around a little bit up in turn 1 and we didn't see it at the beginning.
So for P.J. Jacobson, second in this championship. Really looking ahead for him, figuring out what he's got under the tank. So Blake Davis right now is fighting for second place as Cameron Peterson goes up the inside. We'll see if Davis tries to cut it back. Jamie, what do you have on the 22?
Well, a couple of remarks that you've made about Blake Davis, the fact that we didn't see a lot of him in practice and qualifying, but also the fact that he seems to have a lot of pace out there in the early stages of this race, and that really sets with what the mindset was that he told me back in the paddock before getting ready to come out here. He said he was frustrated after qualifying, especially this morning. He went back and he looked at the splits with his crew chief, Chavi Flores, and really felt like there was a lot more left on board that Yamaha that he didn't get to take full advantage of, but he had a lot of confidence in the race pace, and he knows that his job is to go out there and help Matthew Schultz. His job is also to go out there and continue to improve himself as a rider, and that's his ultimate goal for the rest of this weekend, but he knows that there's something in there to race with.
Yeah, in a very interesting position to be put in as a young rider who has a teammate who's winning the championship, and he's got to race for himself to continue to prove how fast he is and that he belongs here, and obviously eyes forward to possibly the Superbike class in the future. But Jay, we heard you. It was Ty Scott back there on the 70 who was right on the back of these four. He ran wide off the back straightaway, and unfortunately for him, he's now lost quite a bit of time.
One of the hardest things about this track is you see Ty Scott, Greg, run wide at the back of the in the back of your shot there off of turn 12. The hardest thing about this track is there's a lot of these first gear type of corners, very, very slow at the apex, and they're the easiest ones to make a mistake. And now you see he's going to have to race Kayla, as Kayla looks to go down the inside and Ty up at the top of turn number 1. So they're going to filter their way back through. Ty's got some work to do to catch back up to that leading 4 riders. But man, Greg, when you look at 11 laps, that's 55 times you got to go through these first gear turns. There's about 5 of them of these real slow corners. It is so easy to make a mistake, and it can cost you a race as well as position. And we've seen, unfortunately, that mistake a 2:15 flat when the leaders are doing 2:12s.
Yeah, we heard Jake Lewis talk about it actually at the top of the show about how really, if you look at it, it's a very technical racetrack. It looks like it's so wide open. It's very wide. Yeah. It's got a lot of fast, but it's so technical. The ups and downs and timing through the S's and gearbox issues. This is a very challenging racetrack.
Well, you like have half the track that's pretty flat, and then the other half is S's, and it's going up and down the hill, like you said. So it does take a bit of a setup that you might have to deal with some compromises in that setup. Then when you crank the heat up like we have outside right now, that furthermore leads to that kind of thing. So now you see PJ Jacobsen. He's going to want to try to do something here with Blake Davis as soon as he can. But I think these guys have all done a really nice job of not letting Matthew get away.
PJ Jacobsen in sector number 2 goes fastest sector of the race so far. So he's on it. But if we look at these top 4, the pace is starting to heat up because individual sector times, nearly all 4 of these, at least in one of the 2 sectors they've gone through already, has their fastest sector split of the race. So Matthew Skultz off of a 2:12.947, trying to lower the pace, but he's got Cameron Peterson right on his tailpipe now.
Yeah, Cameron's done a really good job. On my way up here, I saw Araldo Faraci and Barry Gilsonen down there in that pit. And, you know, I know Cam has been wanting to win for those guys all year long. And, Greg, he looks very, very strong. He's the only other rider that got into that lap record, like I mentioned earlier this morning. The lap record was, when, 2016, Greg? Garrett Gerloff.
2016
yeah,
Gerloff.
Garrett Gerloff, who I heard is actually here with us. That's great. So these guys both were able to get into that lap record from back then.
All right, so Cameron Peterson not going under the brakes on Skultz. Up the hill, very complicated corner in turn number 1. But he goes 2:12.584 does Cameron Peterson, so fastest lap of the race so far for the South African. All the while, PJ Jacobsen on that Ray Ducati moto with Expel, sitting back there in 3rd.
Greg, look at the dispersion in lap times between the top 4 guys and everybody else. 2:12s for the top 4. Tyler's at 2:15.3, Kayla's at 2:15.2. The only other guy, a couple guys in the 14s, that's going to be Torrin Collins and Brandon Posh. I mean, these guys are going some 2 seconds a lap quicker than the rest of our field currently.
It's actually shocking, and I really thought that once Tyler had run off, that if he could link up with Kayla, and as long as those 2 weren't racing each other back and forth, that he might have been able to drag Kayla back up to this group, and we'd have a 6-rider battle going on, but hasn't materialized with 8 laps to go.
I also notice on my screen, my timing screen, Josh Hayes has gone from 9th or 10th back to 15th. He went to 18.5. So Josh must have had something weird happen there because he was running solidly up there in that top 10. Brandon's recovered a little bit. He's 14.4. But right now, it's going to be a race between these 4. And Greg, when you lose that draft down the back straightaway, when you lose that like Ty Scott did, this is what ends up happening. It makes it a lot harder to run those lap times on your own.
All right, so you have 2 riders that are in the mix. The 2 riders in the middle are not really a factor in this championship. The battle is between the number 1 Blake Skultz, who leads the way, and the number 15 PJ Jacobsen on the yellow motorcycle. So for PJ, if he wants to keep this championship as close as it's been, he's got to figure out a way to close down on Blake Davis and Cameron Peterson and pass him. But it's this section right here where PJ's really starting to lose some time.
It is, but if you look at the speeds too, Greg, look at the difference in speed between Matthew pushing his own air at 161.5. Everybody else behind him in the draft, 165, 165, and 1 67. Matthew's a bigger guy. The R9, I think, fits his style pretty good. And you can see he does his best to get all those arms and limbs in there as far as his body goes, get in behind that bubble. But his top speed is still down a little bit. Jamie.
For P.J. Jacobson, qualifying on the second row for only a handful of times this season. He wasn't too enthused going into the race. They've really been struggling all weekend with their gearing. He said they're not in their window right now, and that's brought on some frustration for him as the rider aboard the bike. But he said they did make some changes coming into the race, hoping to make a turn in the right direction. But of course, this swing in temperature, that's the big unknown right now. So they're learning a lot today that will hopefully help them tomorrow, but they're still not right where they want to be with that Rejo Ducati.
Look how well Matthew pulls away in this area. You can see, Jamie, to your point, PJ just dropping back in this top three now. Now, Greg, I was looking at some splits last night when I was back at the hotel. Was looking at some things, and Matthew Skoltz in the final sector here, sector number 4, had half a second on everybody except for one guy. That was Cam Peterson. That last time through, Matthew Skoltz had the fastest sector 4 lap time.
Oh, man! Huge high side for Cameron Peterson.
That is a big one. That is going to be an off throttle, trying to get the bike turned. High side, we don't see that very often, but now you can see what it's done. It has broken up that top 4 completely now.
Blake Davis had to take evasive action as disbelief down in the pits for Cameron Peterson. That was a big one.
Yeah,
and these motorcycles that they don't have traction control. It's not like some of the street bikes that you can buy, especially on the 1,000, the leader bikes. There's no traction control, no high side control, no wheelie control.
I want to look at it again, Greg, because he's not quite to the apex. You're going to see the bike start to turn just like right now. See that? There was like almost like a little bit of a bump. So he was probably just in the process of picking up the throttle as that bike went through something on the inside of the turn that was enough to get the bike going sideways and making it impossible for Cam to get that bike back in line. Let's just hope he is okay. Matthew Skoltz is going to go from seeing plus 0.5 on his board to probably almost plus 3 now, Greg, as his teammate was really impacted by that was Blake Davis. I believe it's going to be P.J. Jacobson in second. Matthew's going to go by now looking at his board and wonder what has gone on behind him. As Josh Hayes also looks like he's come to grief somewhere out there.
On the BPR Racing Yamaha R9, it looks like Hayes out of this race and behind the wall for him. So it looks like a mechanical issue for Hayes. He didn't go down. So that's going to move the likes of Brandon Posh now in 7th place, Teague Hobbs in 8th, Aiden Sneed up to 9th on the MV Agusta, Martin Cardenas, who's here on a vacation ride, a guy who I spoke with who's done one track day since the last time he raced last year. Cardenas, yeah, he's a pilot by trade. That's what he does for a living down in Colombia, and he is just so happy to be here and enjoying his time. Is the multi-time Superbike race winner.
And I mean, last year he got one corner in. And
yeah,
so I'm just happy to see. This is incredible. I got to see him as well, Greg. He looks great, looks fit, and it's good to see him here at COTA enjoying himself.
So looking at the Yamaha R9, a new motorcycle for 2025 for Yamaha. It is a larger in stature motorcycle than the R6 that it really kind of replaces, and it fits the tall Matthew Skoltz well. Here's another. Oh, yeah, Hayes. That looks like a motor expired for him.
Yep. And that might have been why we saw his lap time starting to just decrease a little bit there as well.
He probably felt some power loss in that motorcycle, but Hayes does the right thing, pulls off the racetrack like a seasoned pro. All right, so we have 5.5 laps to go in this race. P.J. Jacobson, who was in 4th and losing touch after the incident with Cameron Peterson and the evasive action by Blake Davis, puts him in 2nd place. So instead of PJ having to do all the work and try to figure it out and start to really on board and figure how can I get this bike to work for me as the heat increases. PJ wide.
You can see he got a false neutral, Greg. He was trying to get that Ducati in gear. It still almost sounded like he came out of there in gear too tall, but he was fighting to get that bike into gear. It's a really tricky spot. And again, Greg, what is it? It's a slow corner. Those slow corners here are very pivotal.
And we talked about how this racetrack last year impacted the championship for the 15. He's still racing hard for it. Hopefully it was just a one-off incident into that false neutral and not something problematic moving forward for the 15. Onto the front straightaway we go. 5 laps to go as Skoltz goes fastest lap of the race unnecessarily at a 2:12.544. So just enjoying his time out here, really putting a stamp on it now with a 5-second lead over these two.
Yeah, it just really makes it to where when you see +5 on your board, it gives you, or +1 or 2, it gives you a little bit of extra encouragement knowing that I've still got 6 or 7 laps to go. Let's see if I can stretch this out to 3 seconds or so. It's 5, you know, just from that lap time. 2:12.5 to a 2:14.7. Pulled out over 2 seconds on that lap, Greg. So he's just doing the work like we've seen Matthew do so often in the past.
And look, for a guy like Matthew, he's enjoying it. A 2:12.5. He may have team literally standing on the wall saying, slow down, but his brain can't. You don't want him to slow down too much to blow his rhythm. If he gets out of his rhythm, that's when mistakes can happen. So I say keep pushing forward. Matthew Skoltz, 2:12.544, so fast. So like Jason said, these two all the way back into the high 2:14s and low 2:13 range, and now they've settled into this battle.
It's a game,
PJ
same thing. Just can't. He's having trouble just finding what would be probably second gear there, Greg, on the Ducati. I'm not sure if they're back shifting that bike all the way back to first, and that's where he's just getting stuck in between the neutrals. But definitely now we've seen that 2 times in a row. We just hope it's not a persistent problem that is going to continue to get worse as the race goes.
Blake Davis was an unusual line down the back straightaway, looking all the way over to the left, but he'll take that spot over. A little wide for him as PJ tries to square it up. This is where Jacobson racecraft comes into play for him. He's figuring out, okay, where's this bike actually working for me, and can I attack? Because now PJ's focused solely on second place in this race.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to his shifter foot. I didn't get to see it that time into there, and just kind of trying to see the acceleration that the R9 had a little bit on him there on the exit. So we'll see if PJ legitimately just has a problem that he's dealing with that he's going to have to just fight through to the end of the race.
Almost at 4 laps to go in Supersport race number 1 here at Circuit of the Americas. This, the 4th to last race of the season. This race represents 25 of 100 points left, with a 7-point gap between the rider out front and the number 15 you're seeing on your screen right now.
Yeah, you can see it there. He's trying to get it into that gear, Greg, and it just wasn't going for him. So,
I mean, Jay, how important is it to have that? Oh, look at PJ going around the outside. How important is it for a rider to have that engine braking going into these corners, and all of a sudden it's not available to
well,
him?
When it's not there, it's amazing how much ground you cover. These guys are just running side by side down in through these S's. Yeah, Greg, you really depend on it. What you got to remember is these guys are riding on such a knife edge that if things just don't work perfectly, it just is enough to throw you off. Then you get a rider like PJ Jacobson with as much experience as he goes stuffing it up underneath Blake Davis and the S's. You see a guy like that. Look at these guys just going back and forth. Matthew's going to have a 10-second lead probably after this lap now.
Yeah, really.
But with a guy like PJ, Blake Davis, Matthew Skoltz, all our top guys, when something like that happens, they have the wherewithal to be able to control it.
Like what I'm seeing from Blake Davis, the Virginia native, having some fun out there with PJ Jacobson out of New York.
So right there, Greg, I was watching PJ's left foot. He's spacing his shifts out a little bit more than maybe normal. You see a shake of the head from PJ. So he's having to do something maybe a little different than he would normally have. And I'm sure if we get to talk to him in the winner's circle, he'll say something about they were fighting a little bit of an issue. You can see a lot of times when a rider rolls the throttle off, they'll start going down through the shifts as quickly as they can. PJ's starting to just space those out a little bit. Even on the upshifts on the exit of that corner, I can tell it's not maybe just going into gear. So maybe it could just be a quick shifter type of thing that is starting to fail him a little bit.
Normally, how would you go through the gearbox coming off the back straightaway?
When you go back gears, you're braking so deep that these guys, the second that they roll off, when you start looking at data, they'll get those first 2 or 3 shifts done almost immediately. And when you watch right now with PJ, he's being very deliberate. He's getting one done at a time and spacing them out in between so that he can make sure that the bike is into gear. He's not taking it for granted that the bike is automatically going to go into the gear it needs to be. And Kayla here and Ty Scott are having a good battle. In fact, Greg, the last time by, they were both in the 13s. The 2 in front of them, Blake Davis and PJ, were in the 14s. So they're right now trying to charge their way forward as well.
Yeah, but it's only 3 laps to go in this race, so is there enough time for Kayla to possibly reel these 2 in? And they keep duking it out back and forth. That's going to slow them down a little bit, depending on where they race. And there goes Ty Scott on that cool GSXR 750 Division Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki.
Just couldn't quite get it stopped, could he?
No.
So, that's a great battle. You got two great battles here. One for 3rd and 4th. The other one, for second and third, rather. The other one for third and fourth. And let's give a shout out to Torrin Collins on the Altus Racing GSXR 750 Suzuki. He's running a solid 6th right now, Greg. Some 2 seconds up the road from Brandon Posh as these guys continue to find different ways of getting through the S's. Torrin's only about 4 seconds, 5 seconds behind that battle that we saw for 4th and 5th, but doing a really nice job for him.
This is a battle for the podium for second place. Meanwhile, out front by 8 seconds is Matthew Skoltz. 8.3, as you can see, left part of your screen. And PJ under braking. Once again, past Blake Davis. And boy, that Ducati, when it has grip, it comes off the corner. Crazy good. And down the back straightaway they go. And Blake's got to be able to draft and pass down the back straightaway here at Circuit of the Americas. So a nice move by Blake Davis. He's got position up the inside. He'll have the braking, but PJ just rolls off the lever around the outside.
He's going to run wide here, though. And you see him. Greg, these guys are losing a second a lap to the guys to the two behind. Just look at, they're just stuffing and restuffing. Ty Scott, to your point there, you're pointing to the screen for me. He goes wide. Look at these guys. I mean, if you were doing your counter like you normally would do it for the lead, these guys are just stuffing and restuffing.
I don't know. It looks like they're having some fun. Both of them couldn't even come close to finding the apex in that corner. They're too busy fighting it out. All the while, it looked like Yakov and Ty Scott were closing, but those two are locked in a battle of their own.
Watch here. Look at Blake's left foot. He does an upshift. I didn't do it there. He did do it. He did it late, but he does an upshift. It looks like he goes from 3rd up to 4th. Then he's got to go back 2 gears for this corner, and then he upshifts 1 and back again. So it's a busy place, but look at Greg, Kayla Yakov and Ty Scott. If they don't get engaged in the sense of fighting with each other like the two in front, Greg, we got 2 laps to go, and we know how long the laps are here. Let's see the difference in times. 15.1 and a 15.2 to a 14.2 and a 14.3. These guys lost another second again.
So here comes Kayla Yakov, and she can see that podium right in front of her. It's just 2.5 seconds or so. And the question is, how hard can she push as these two need to settle down for this last couple laps, so they're going to leave the door open. And also, Kayla needs Ty Scott to stay behind her as well, unless it's down the back straightaway, because a good draft and pass maneuver would help close the gap for these two. Wow, how many times have these two been around each other? And here's the thing, you don't think that Strack Racing has a smile on their face?
Yeah.
This is exactly what they want from Blake Davis.
100%.
Just rough up PJ. They don't want him to actually touch. There's no dirt. But if you force PJ into a bigger mistake, that might create even a larger gap in this championship for the #1 Skoltz.
Make him work for it. And I tell you right now, if you're Blake Davis, you know that your team's watching everything on this screen. He knows that we're going to be locked in on this fight. They've probably changed positions some 15 times or more. Blake now is in the draft of that Ducati, and he's not going to be close enough to outbreak, I don't believe, going down there now, as you see the two behind battling for 4th and 5th. But these guys haven't fought this much this lap, so they're going to be okay, I think, Greg.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Ty Scott fought, though. He was able to actually get the bike slowed down and pass without running wide.
Yep, got past
for Ty Scott, so he's back behind, in front of Kayla Yakov.
Look at
PJ Jacobson's all dirt track style. That's his roots in upstate New York. He likes the thing to go sideways. He's not comfortable when the wheels are in the line.
Ty's wide again. PJ knows, though, doesn't he, Greg? I mean, PJ literally knows those 5 points that he could lose to Matthew are big. You don't want to lose 7 or 8 here. You want to only lose those 5. And here it is. Blake goes back up underneath them with 2 corners to go. Should be white flag this time by for our leader, Matthew Skoltz, which these guys are in the last corner now. Final lap, Greg. These guys are it's going to be a fun battle to watch.
For Skoltz, 13.7. Now enjoying his time out front. And he's got just about a 10-second gap. There is the #1 of Matthew Skoltz. And wow, Jay, you know, we have enjoyed watching Matthew Skoltz in Supersport. And you and I have had conversations about the skill level of Matthew Skoltz. We know that PJ Jacobson with the Ray Hall Ducati Moto team is going Superbike racing next year. How much would you love to see the #1 plate, Matthew Skoltz, back in the Superbike ranks for 2026?
Honestly, it's where he belongs. You know, it's where he belongs. Seeing PJ move up is great. I love that. This guy has really shown me some stuff in the last 2 years. And Greg, I really do believe the last 2 years he's gonna look back on him, and it's made him a better rider. He's a very polished rider in the sense that you don't see this guy make very many mistakes. mentally, I think he's very, very strong as well. And so it would lead him well to get back into Superbike. PJ is going to take a shot, maybe. Now he's going to wait to try to draft the 22 down the back straight. Now Blake's going to know that that's what PJ's thought is, not seeing that yellow bike sneak up underneath him. So let's see. Blake's going to move all the way over to the left. Yep, he's going to move all the way over to the left. PJ didn't look like he got out of there very well, did he, Greg? Almost like he had a problem getting up through the gears again. And he's not going to be close enough to outbrake as they get down in there into turn 12. Well, we should look at Matthew now. He's in the stadium section.
Interesting, listening to the RPM he's using around that section on the R9. If that was an R6, it would be screaming through there.
Yeah, he's going back to first gear here. So that was all second gear there. It's going to be first. He'll do 2 quick upshifts here. Go second, third. There you see it there.
Yep.
So he's going to short shift it up to third, cruise around here. But this is what he's been doing the whole race. And the Strack Yamahas look like they're upshifting to fourth just on the exit of this corner. He might just roll it through here in third. Nope, there's fourth. Back a couple gears. Pretty easy for Matthew. 9-second lead. It's going to feel good for him.
Out of his control is the battle behind him, and he's going to be wanting his teammate to put himself between basically Matthew and PJ Jacobsen. But onto the front straightaway we go for Matthew Schultz, and to the line and wheel in the air, and another victory for Schultz in Supersport. And now the battle for second place as Blake Young trying to take points away from his rival PJ Jacobsen. To the line they go, and it's going to be Blake Davis by 1/10 of a second, and it's going to be Ty Scott over Kayla Yakov.
Yeah, those two tomorrow could be a factor in this race as well. I think Kayla and Ty Scott, as well as we're hoping he's okay. Cam Peterson, they'll all be in that fight for the podium as well.
Tip of the cap to the Division Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki rider Ty Scott. His fastest lap of the race, 2:13.6 on the last lap to secure that 4th place finish. So we have Aiden, let's see, Torrin Collins in 6th, Posh in 7th, Aiden Sneed in 8th place. On that MB, Martin Cardenas, top 10, 9th, Teague Hobbs, Corey Alexander, 11th, David Anthony, Linares, Gabriel Da Silva, your top 14. Here's a look at the progression of laps. You can see that 2:12.544, fastest lap of the race by Schultz on lap number 6. He laid another one down at a 13 and then settled into his race-winning pace, just hanging out in the low to mid-13s with a 14.3 on the last lap and enjoying it. We're going to talk to Schultz on the other side of this break. Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't know all the drama happened on behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for PJ, he has to start winning some races now. You know, for the 3rd place today, I mean, he did a good job getting on the podium, but he's starting to lose too many points, and we're running out of time. And the way Matt, we've seen him just all weekend, is kind of what we expected after seeing that qualifier today. And it looked like PJ was having some issues as well, so it's going to be interesting to hear if he actually was.
Yeah, 16 points is the gap between Schultz and PJ Jacobsen, so even winning all 3 races remaining in the season may not be enough for Jacobsen, but that scrap between himself and Blake Davis went all the way through this race, and for the second half of the race, bar to bar with each other, and we'll wait and see what PJ has to say about what the problem was for him, but the biggest problem he has is that Matthew Schultz has just had the pace all week.
Yeah, and Matt's bike looks like it works really well, and he's a good rider. He's riding good, but you know, PJ's a good rider with a good team also, so they just got a little work to do overnight and try to find some speed.
And for Matthew Schultz and for the Strack Yamaha team, biggest thing as well, a 1-2 for them. Blake Davis back on form, and really important for Blake to get himself in that fight with PJ and go against him all the way through the 11 laps, and it went right down to the wire.
Yeah, and come out on top of that battle as well. So that's going to be huge for Blake. He probably learned a lot during that race, and boy, he's going to make his team owner happy as well.
So he's made his teammate happy as well, and those extra 4 points that Jacobsen lost in that battle, all important in the championship scrap as Matthew Schultz heads down towards victory lane.
Victory circle. And what a ride by Blake Davis. He was just chopping it up with P.J. Jacobson there for a while. I mean, it looked to me, JP, like they might have been having some fun there.
Yeah, it's a fun race, except for PJ's going to be frustrated. I can tell you that right now, because he was obviously having a small problem. And, you know, for this guy right now, Matthew Skoltz, he's just taken a stranglehold on this championship, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly has. And, you know, when we look back at our timing and scoring, when we see Skoltz, Davis, and Jacobson, they're the only 3 riders in this top 3 that were able to finish here, because we know Cam P was able to do it as well, that were in the 2:12 range.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going to look at that. But as we look at our results, it is those 3. And then Ty Scott, Kayla Yakov had a ding-dong battle. And then Collins, Posh, Sneed, Cardenas, and Hobbs in the mix. And I would say even 26 seconds, 0.7 behind for Martin.
Are you kidding? That's amazing. I mean, that's really good stuff to see, as well as Torrin Collins. I mean, Brandon steps in on that bike. Aiden Sneed, like you say, only kid on an MV Agusta. So, yeah, pretty cool.
American flag and the flag of Texas being waved. Now, Jay, I will have to say, when I talked about, as we look at Skoltz and his dad's here and celebrating all the way from South Africa, and his mom gets to watch all these races on MotoAmerica Live Plus as they see their son trying to recapture that #1 plate. I just want to say about Martin Cardenas, I did ask him about the sensation of speed, because, you know, if you're off the bike for a long time, sometimes you can show up. And he said initially it was okay till I got on the back straightaway. He goes, it's so fast down the back straightaway that everything for the first couple laps was a complete blur.
Yep.
But he said he still feels really good on the motorcycle, and obviously it shows for him as he was able to go 2:14.68. But Jamie's down there in victory lane with Matthew Skoltz, who was able to do the fastest lap of the race and win by over 10 seconds.
Lonely ride out front for Matthew Skoltz, but certainly lots of friends and family here to celebrate with you. Your 8th win of this championship season. When you have everybody on hand here to be a part of it, how does it change the race for you?
You know, when I'm out there riding the bike, it doesn't come to me too much, but after the race, it's a little bit, you know, I'm emotional to have my parents, the family, everyone out here supporting me. My dad was here last year when we won. He was up in the box, and my mom's here. I mean, my wife, family, thank you to the whole Strack Racing team. You know, they've done everything that they were supposed to do, and it was just up to me to go out there and do the laps that I know that I could. And those guys definitely hung on to me a little bit longer than I thought, but once I kind of got to that gap, I could see I was consistently pulling out something. So we definitely have to find a couple more tens for the second race. I know that PJ and Blake and Cam and everyone else will, but I'm looking forward to the fight. And thank you to everyone who supports us. Over
a 10-second gap, and still looking for more tomorrow, Greg.
Yeah, that never ends, of course, because even though it's a 10-second victory now, when he goes back and watches the tape from today, he's going to realize just how close it was. And it was the mistake from Cameron Peterson that kind of blew this race wide open. Let's get back down to Jamie, who has Blake Davis.
For Blake Davis, it might be his 9th time on the podium this season, but that scrap between himself and P.J. Jacobson, that's what we were all watching out there on the racetrack. Blake, for you, going into those moments, still a very young rider, what do you take away from that that's going to help you going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the big battle was so much fun. I love that kind of stuff. Just able to throw down, and it was clean racing, but a lot of fun, so I really enjoyed that. I hope Cam's okay. I think we didn't really get to show how close we could be to Matt today. When Cam had that big moment, you know, Matt got a really big lead, but hopefully tomorrow we can hang on closer and maybe fight for the win.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's good. I think that's one of those incidents, too. We certainly hope that Cameron Peterson's okay, because that was a big high side. But I think it looked like in those stages that Blake Davis had the pace to hang right with him, and I think he's going to make some big adjustments as well, he and his team. Let's get right down to Jamie, who has our 3rd place finisher, P.J. Jacobson.
Well, Blake Davis might have been excited about that battle he had with P.J. Jacobson. You were on the other side of it, P.J., and we saw you struggling still with the gearing issues you've had throughout the weekend. What else did you need, and what can you work on for tomorrow?
Yeah, I was just struggling a little bit for grip in the race, you know, and then when Cam had that high side and stuff, it kind of separated everybody, but I don't think we had anything for Matthew today. He rode really well and was in a different level all weekend, so congrats to him and the team on the win. But I think me and Blake, honestly, were struggling at the same stuff, like with grip and then a little bit of front end, but we couldn't really push, you know. And then I was getting worried. I kept looking at the leaderboard because Kayla and Tyler were coming, so I was getting kind of nervous and was trying to like say, let's go, we gotta, before we both get off the box here. So yeah, I just want to thank the whole team, Ray Hall Ducati Moto, Expo, our sponsors here, Ray from Roll or Die, you know, everybody that's been a part of this whole program. Graham's out here this weekend, so it's a pretty big weekend for us, and it's good to be on the podium here and for our sponsors and stuff, and the weather's great, so it's good, and work on some things tonight and try to take it a little bit further in their direction tomorrow.
Take the battle to another day, Greg.
Well, so maybe he didn't have a shifter problem, or maybe he just wasn't saying it, because you could definitely tell he was struggling with some things.
He's a professional. He's
very, very, very professional as PJ. So the grip, you could definitely tell. The grip's going to go off on all these bikes anyways, Greg, with the heat. So he'll be back ready to go tomorrow.
And we'll be back at Circuit of the Americas after this short break.
$16 points the difference between our top two in the standings. Blake Davis with a big step towards that third in the championship as well. That could be all wrapped up by tomorrow afternoon for him, and good way to finish off the season as well in these final 2 rounds for Blake, with a performance like this, Rog, just to put him back to the forefront and giving himself the chance in these final few rounds to have that momentum.
Yeah, and for Blake, he even mentioned it, that crash really did separate the group early on. I know Matt was going to be tough to beat regardless. But for Blake, just a good ride. You know, it's been an impressive weekend for Blake. He kind of struggled a little bit early on Friday, and he's kept chipping away at it, and he's just been getting closer and closer. Now he finds himself on the podium.
Yeah, he's been top 5 in pretty much every race for the second half of this season, and important to get yourself into a fight with PJ and for the Strack team to come out on top of it as much as anything else. But for Blake, this is a performance that's going to give him a good confidence lift. For PJ Jacobson, though, a lot of work to do tomorrow.
Yeah, he's got some work, but, you know, PJ even said on the podium he gave it everything he had, and really that's all you can do, and him and the team will get together tonight, and they'll try to find out, look at the data and look at the splits, maybe go back and watch the race on the video and see where they can improve.
And the good thing for tomorrow as well is Cam Peterson will be there as well from the front row with a great able to try and put himself in the mix, because PJ needs another Ducati up there. He needs someone that's going to be able to try and potentially take some points off of Matthew Schultz over these final few races of the season. But as it is right now, Schultz with the race win and all the confidence, all the momentum, and that 16-point advantage with 3 races remaining in the Motovation Supersport class. Blake Davis second and up on the podium once again with PJ Jacobson, and it sets up nicely for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, and all these riders now had the opportunity to get out behind Matt and see what he's doing and where they can improve their speed.
Let's get back to Greg and JP to bring the Supersport action to a close.
Motovation Supersport is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By NXT Bets, play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sports books and DFS platforms all season long. And by Motovation, the most trusted online resource for premium motorcycle parts and accessories delivered right to your door. Find your motivation at motivationusa.com.
So here's what happened in race number 1 at COTA.
Well, it was a good start for Matthew Schultz right off the bat. Gets that number 1 up front with his teammate just behind. As you see, PJ Jacobson make an early bet on Cam Peterson. Cam would return the favor once they got down to the end of that back straightaway. Ty Scott was in this battle early. Cam Peterson goes through on Blake Davis until this big moment for Cam P. Let's just hope he's okay, Greg. That was a hard hit on the left side, left hip and all that stuff. So let's hope that he is going to be all right. You can see definitely shaken up. Then the battle ensued between these two guys. Once that gap opened up, unfortunately, after Cam Peterson's crash, these two guys were battling, and I think it's great to listen to PJ say that he was watching the big screen, and you can see Kayla and Ty Scott closing in on him and Blake Davis as they continued to fight. I mean, Greg, they had to pass each other some 10, 12 times at least. All these different lines through the S's. In the end, PJ would take a shot going down into turn 11. Make that pass, only to see Blake Davis go back past him through turn 1. This guy was sailing along out front, Greg, and would win another race, extend that points lead. And as PJ also said, just looked like he had a little bit more than everybody else so far this weekend. Blake Davis, Matthew Schultz's teammate, comes across, and a nice second for that team to go 1-2.
So 17 career victories in Supersport for Matthew Schultz. When we come back, we're going to take a look at those point standings as Matthew celebrates top of the box with his mom.
in the battle outside those podium positions. Ty Scott up against Kayla Yakov was a good scrap right to the end there as well, right?
Yeah, really good battle. Unfortunately, though, for Tyler, he made a couple mistakes and a couple of the hairpins. One at the end of the back straightaway, turn 12. He was right there with the leaders until he made that mistake. And then seen him run wide again, I think, in turn 16. So just pushing a little too hard. If he didn't have those mistakes, I think he definitely, looking at the lap times, he had the pace to be with the podium battle, especially the way Blake and PJ was going back and forth.
Yeah, comes away with that 4th place finish just ahead of Kayla Yakov. And this has been a really impressive weekend for Kayla. Probably one of the better weekends of the season.
Good.
She's had a good year already up to this point. 6th in the championship standings. But she got down to pace nice and quick here in COTA. Closer to PJ Jacobson as well, which is obviously the important thing for her and for the Ray Hall Ducati team. But able to have a good scrap there that could easily have come away with that 4th place finish. Going to give her a lot of confidence going into tomorrow.
Yeah, and it should. And she's really coming on fire the last couple weeks. You can see her early on in the race in the camera shot, and early in the year you didn't really see her in the camera shot. She's just getting closer, and she's staying in there longer and longer. Her gap to the top is starting to close down, and the battle to the podium, she just needs to find a little bit per lap, and she's going to be in the podium battle.
And obviously in tomorrow's race we should have Cam Peterson back. We saw there the crash for him, and obviously hurting a little bit after it, but hopefully we'll be able to see him take up that front row spot tomorrow.
Yeah, he's been riding really good this weekend, real good at Mid-Ohio, almost got a couple wins there. So we want to see Cam back. He has the pace to run with the leaders, and it's just good to see another guy up front battling for the win.
Yeah, 4 podiums in the last 6 races for Peterson. Hopefully we're able to see him in the mix once again tomorrow. And here at COTA, we'll go back to Greg and JP.
Welcome back, Circuit of the Americas, here in Austin, Texas. After a very interesting Supersport race number 1 that had Matthew Skulls check out by 10 seconds. The question that we have, of course, is the implications as to what's going to happen with our championship standings. It was 7 points, and now we see it's extended to 16 points with only 75 left in this championship. That means mathematically Blake Davis is out of this championship. So now, we've talked about it for quite a while, Jay, since last year, the 2-horse race between Skulls and PJ. Now it's a reality.
We are right back at it. And for PJ, he's got to go to work tonight with his team to find something out. I think, Greg, the other big play here is we're going to PJ's home track in New Jersey. And we know what that place can get like with the weather and things at times when we're there. This championship's not over yet. There's still a lot up for grabs, and both those guys are going to want to try to win this one.
So a long night of work for the rest of this paddock to try to figure out how to close the gap to the number 1 of Matthew Skulls. And we can't wait to hear tomorrow if Cam Peterson's going to be okay to race, because that talent, we need him on this racetrack. But that'll do it for race number 1. Join us tomorrow at 2 East for race number 2. For Jamie, Jason, I'm Greg, and all of our crew, thanks for watching Supersport race number 1 from COTA. See you tomorrow.
Supersport is in the books, and